As you can see, I am not in the Joe Blog studio. Actually overlooking this nice waterfront. Now, the reason why I'm here is I'm actually filming on location for the Joe and Naz new channel. So if you haven't subscribed to that yet, please jump over there and subscribe to it. I'll put a link at the end of this video. And rather than telling you where I am, I'll let you guess. So can anybody guess from that waterfront? I'll give you a big clue. There is a huge stadium behind me here. So if you can see that stadium and you recognize it, then maybe you'll know where I am. I'll tell you, if I do another live stream, I'll tell you exactly where I am. But the reason why I wanted to make this video is really just to give you an update as to what's happening with regards to the war in Iran, because things have taken a very serious escalation. Hello, Melbourne. Yeah, somebody's now on live with me. Yeah, it's taken a very serious escalation because overnight we have seen Iran actually hitting an oil tanker that was harboured in Dubai. It's hit it with a drone and it's had an explosion. It's basically destroyed that ship. And that ship was estimated to be valued at $200 million. So it's a big vessel. Carries around 2 million barrels of oil, so significant. But more significant is the fact that Iran is now actually attacking commercial vehicles. So this isn't military infrastructure, this isn't trying to take out US bases, this is actually just hitting a tanker that was laden with oil. And it's important also because Dubai was seen as a safe haven for the tankers. There's basically around 400 tankers that are currently harboured in that area. So obviously all of those ships are now within striking distance for Iran. So that's very concerning if you're the captain of that ship, if you're one of the workers on that ship, but also if you're the company that owns that vessel. And Donald Trump, not surprisingly, has responded to this. So he's come out and basically said to Iran that he is now considering destroying not just all the electricity plants, but also all of their oil facilities, taking Kark Island, destroying that, and also potentially attacking the desalination plants. And I think the desalination plants issue is quite an important one in the Middle East because the Middle East is by definition a dry area. It's, a lot of it is desert. So they don't have enough water, fresh water, to be able to feed all of their population. So a lot of the water is desalinated. So basically they're taking water from the ocean and then removing the salt and other impurities from it so that everybody actually has water to drink and use. And the fact that Donald Trump has said that he would potentially take out some of the desalination plants is obviously going to cause a humanitarian crisis in Iran because it's a country with a lot of people, I think 80 or 90 million people. It's a big country. So if you don't have any water, what are you meant to do? That's a problem. But also it raises the question of retaliation from Iran, that Iran could obviously then decide that it's also going to take out, I'm going to sit down, I think, it's also going to take out the desalination plants for other countries as well. And if that happened, then this war would take a very serious turn. But the bottom line here is that we're seeing a further escalation in this war. So whilst Donald Trump has been talking a lot about the USA achieving most of its goals and thinking about ending the war and basically drawing a line under things, that's really not what we're seeing from the action. We're seeing Iran stepping things up. Israel is continuing to bombard Iran and Lebanon and also Yemen now with missiles. It's also been reported overnight that there was a ballistic missile was heading towards Turkey. It was taken out by the NATO defense systems. If you've been following the stories I've been posting, NATO defense systems are operating in Turkey. Now, the fact that NATO took that missile out doesn't actually mean that NATO has been drawn into this conflict, but the mandate for NATO does say that if one of its countries is attacked, then it would all stand behind that country. So theoretically, if Turkey does get struck by a missile, it could bring the 31 nations of NATO into this conflict, which obviously nobody wants. We've already got 5 countries actively involved: the USA, Israel, Iran, Yemen, and Lebanon. The last thing that we want is any of the countries actually being involved militarily. Obviously, the Middle East countries are defending themselves, so they are basically stopping all of the drone strikes and the missile strikes. Somebody just sent me a message there saying, stop exaggerating so much. I'm not actually exaggerating. I'm just telling you what is happening. These are actual reports overnight of what's happening. So that's the situation. And the problem that we've got here is it's having a huge impact on the global economy. We talked about this before, but the Strait of Hormuz, or Hormuz, somebody sent me a message the other day saying stop saying Hormuz, it's Hormuz, but it doesn't really matter what it is. It's the same strait of water that is very close to Iran. 20% of the world's oil and gas moves through that strait in a normal day. It's not at the moment because Iran isn't allowing it to. And that sent oil prices soaring. So recently they were at $115. I think they've come down a little bit, but the markets are desperate for good news. So anytime Donald Trump says that there's almost going to be an end to the war, then the oil prices start falling and the stock markets start going up. But fundamentally, nothing's changed. It's still the same war. It's still the same problem that we've got with oil prices. We've also got issues with other supplies, ammonium nitrate for fertilizer, aluminium, helium, and multiple other raw materials that come through that strait and also through the strait that goes up to the Suez Canal are now being affected. So this is pushing up prices, pushing up inflation, will mean that central banks will have to raise interest rates. And overnight, Germany has cut its GDP growth forecast for 2026 from previous 1.3% to 0.6%. So that's basically halved, and that's only after 4.5 weeks of this war. So if the war does carry on for another 4 or 5 weeks, or maybe another 4 or 5 months, because I can't see where the end is coming from as it sits today, then this is going to decimate the global economy in 2026. So the longer it goes on, the more likely it becomes one of those seismic events that you look back on. So we talk about the global financial crisis in 2007, 2008, the deep recession in the 1980s, the recession in the 1970s caused by oil price movements. Well, this could be one of those historic moments that we look back on and say, yep, the Iran war, which brought a major global recession. So the stock markets aren't showing it. Nobody's wanting this to happen. But now that the war started, how does it finish? And as I've said in previous videos, the authorities in Iran, they're looking at regime change. You know, Israel and the USA want different rulers. And there's talk that the previous Shah of Iran, who ran Iran up until the revolution in 1979, his son lives in America. He's saying that he would potentially be interested in going in and setting up a new regime. Now, that would obviously work well for the Americans and the Iranians, sorry, not the Iranians, the Israelis, because that regime would be US friendly. There would potentially be some oil deal struck that Iranian oil could then go into the USA, all of those sorts of issues. But the existing rulers of Iran aren't going to vote for that, because then they are out. And what happens to them thereafter? They'd probably go on trial. And if you look at what happened to rulers like Saddam Hussein, it doesn't look like a very good outcome for those guys. So I don't think that they're likely to agree to a ceasefire or anything that the USA and Israel are putting forward. So what we're more likely to see is this war being prolonged, carrying on. The USA wants to pull out, but, and that's what Donald Trump's saying, but also they've now got over 50,000 Marines and paratroopers in that area. And the reason that those guys are there is a potential ground invasion. So the likely option on that front would be Kark Island, which is the key hub for Iranian oil. That's where all of 90% of the oil exported from Iran leaves from. So if Iran was to lose control of Kark Island, it would be a nightmare economically for them, devastating. So from Donald Trump's point of view, that would be a good thing to take. However, that would escalate this war hugely. And if you've been following me, you'll know that the USA has actually lifted the sanctions on Iranian oil. They can sell Iranian oil into the USA for the first time since 1979. Wow, that's like 47 years. That tells you how serious the problem is. That's on top of the sanctions being lifted on Russian oil. So we've got all of this extra oil coming in. But if Kark Island is taken or even destroyed, as Donald Trump has said in his Truth Social post today, if it's destroyed, then that's the Iranian oil gone. That's going to send prices soaring for oil. Then, you know, they could easily go to $150, possibly $200 per barrel. If that happens, it's guaranteed that we would have a global recession. The world cannot survive on $200 barrels of oil. It's just not feasible. for everybody to carry on as normal as you were, guys. So I wanted to post this video and to show you where I am. It's a little bit cloudy today, but it's now nice being out in the open air. Don't know whether anybody has guessed where we are. I'll tell you in the next live stream, or if you check out the Joe and Naz channel, then hopefully you'll see some videos coming on that soon. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Joe and Naz. It's a new venture that I've started with one of my best friends who basically is very entertaining and fun, and we're trying to get a bit of fun and food and banter into those videos, and so far I think we've managed to do it. So I'll put a link at the end of this video when I put it up, not on the live stream version. So if you would, please click on that link. It'll take you straight through to one of the Joe and Naz videos that we've got on there at the moment. Please subscribe to that channel. Please support us. I think it's going to be a fun adventure. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber, and I will see you again on the next video.